The Seminoles are looking to get back to a championship playoff run, along with the Clemson Tigers that we just discussed. And look no further. The Florida State Seminoles have gone out and hired not one, but two coordinators. We're going to talk about one today. That first one being Gus Malzahn, new offensive coordinator for the Florida State Seminoles. And we're going to discuss how his leadership could transform Florida State football. This is a big hire, Brad. Mm-hmm. This is a huge hire for the Seminoles. We saw what they were capable of doing 2 years ago with Jordan Travis. Goes down with that horrific injury, goes to the NFL. And after that, they just took a huge step back. Yeah. No one expected them to have the season that they had last year. And it's crazy to think about, Brad, that it wasn't even a year ago that the Florida State Seminoles took the field and got destroyed. And I say destroyed because they should have easily handed it to Georgia Tech and Ireland. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. But with DJU in that experiment, boy, did it go wrong. Now they bring in a guy like Gus Malzahn, and we're going to touch on the new quarterback that they're bringing in too, and Thomas Castellanos from Boston College. Initial thoughts on Gus Malzahn? We know he's transitioning from a head coaching role at UCF. What kind of move is this for Gus, and why do you think he went about doing it?
Nate, I'm glad you brought up that point. Before I hit on Gus, I think this is an interesting trend that we've seen. And me and you have talked about this off air, just in our, day-to-day friend conversation. I think it's an interesting trend that we've seen with Gus. We've seen with Chip Kelly. We've seen with some other coaches that you're seeing head coaches at small programs, but also I would say pretty major programs that are, whether it's just completely fed up with NIL portal, or maybe they just want to take a step back in responsibility that they are now going to from head coaching roles to coordinator roles. I think it's an interesting trend. I'm interested to see if it continues. I know we've got some changes probably coming up in NIL with revenue share and some changes to maybe just one portal, but this is an interesting trend to me. It's fascinating because 10, 15 years ago, I don't know that you saw it as much as you're seeing it. Chip Kelly shocked everyone when he made the move from UCLA to Ohio State. I was a little surprised when Malzahn did it as well. So it's an interesting trend. Getting back to your question, I think it's a good move. I like Gus Malzahn. I like his offenses. They're fun. One of the things you have up there is his offense become predictable. I do think he's going to have to tweak some things. But you look at his first 2 years at UCF, 9 wins each year. It's the capability.
It's consistent.
It's absolutely there. They took a step back when they went to the Big 12. And I think that him going from an OC, from him going to a head coach to an OC where he can just focus on that, I think it's going to be a really, really good move for him. You talked about Mike Norvell. Nate, I hate to say that he's on the hot seat. And look, we're going to have, we've got several more months, and we're going to do a special episode right before the season and talking about our head coach on the hot seat. I don't know that the seat is just blazing hot, but I think it's starting to get a tad bit warm. You hit on it. ACC champs 2 years ago, undefeated regular season, of course, a bad Orange Bowl, and then they go 2-10 last year. Mike Norvell had to make some drastic changes, and he did that. I think Gus Malzahn is, I'm giving this an A- hire. I think it's a great hire. He runs a fun offense. He's got connections to the state of Florida. Obviously, I do think, Nate, one of the storylines I'm watching is, does Mike Norvell say I'm keeping my hands and I'm keeping my body out of that offensive room, and I'm going to let Gus have it, or is he going to still dab in it? I think that's interesting. I don't think Mike Norvell's the type of coach that micromanages. I don't know him well enough, obviously, but I do think that is going to be an interesting storyline with this Florida State team. Is does he take the Brian Day approach and a la Chip Kelly and says, I'm completely handing this off to Gus Malzahn? But I think it's a good fit. I really, really like it. I think Florida State is set up for success, and I know we're going to get to Thomas Castellanos in a moment, but those two, I'm excited to watch them this fall.
And fun fact for you listeners out there, the deep-rooted Florida State fans probably know this, but back in 2007, 2008, Mike Norvell was the grad assistant for Tulsa when Gus Malzahn was the co-OC there.
Right.
So these two guys know each other very well. They've competed against each other. They've competed with each other, and now they're getting a chance to reverse the roles and do it again. This time, Mike Norvell being the head coach, Gus Malzahn being the coordinator. It's going to be an interesting fit. Yeah. To your point, this was a must-hire for Mike Norvell. Mm-hmm. You talk about the hot seat heating up. That hot seat is hot right now. Florida State cannot go from a top 4 program in the nation to winning 2 or 3 games.
Right.
Cannot happen. Will not happen. There's too much money, too many boosters involved. Look, I'm telling you right now, Mike Norvell does not produce. Could be looking at Dion coming into Florida State very, very soon. I'm telling you, Dion knows how to pull people in. He knows how to bring in leverage, NIL, and all that. Florida State, man, they would be deadly if they got Dion. This is a must-win year for Mike Norvell. Did a great job hiring Gus Malzahn. I think this was not an A- hire. I think it was an A+ hire. This is phenomenal. It's either going to work or it's not.
Right.
That's what you're going to get in this year. Right. You bring in Tommy Castellanos. We're going to talk about him more throughout the offseason. You bring in Gus Malzahn. You bring in a new DC we'll talk about next week. This is an interesting fit. Gus Malzahn has had success everywhere he's went. Auburn, UCF, and it's always been consistent.
Yeah.
And yet he always gets booted out. And granted, he didn't get booted out of UCF, but it's almost as if the media was trending in that direction. It's almost as if they thought if Gus Malzahn can't win 10, 11 games in the Big 12 for UCF, then he's just not it.
Right.
I think that's a really bad idea, really bad road to go down. As far as his new position here for the Seminoles, I think it's going to transition great. And I think they brought in the guy that he wants.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Castellanos, look, I mean, if you could build a quarterback to fit a Gus Malzahn offense, it's this guy. I mean, Nate, to me, what we're going to see is I think you're going to see 2013 or 2014 Auburn, 2013 Auburn with Nick Marshall.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I think Thomas Castellanos is a more refined. I think he's a better passer than Nick Marshall. I think he's more consistent in that. But this is a guy that is explosive as a runner. I mean, Florida State fans, I'm interested to hear the comments. Would love to hear them. I was reading on some of the boards when Castellanos was visiting and when he committed in the portal time. It seemed like Florida State fans were really, really excited. I think if I had to go with a bold prediction right now, I think you're looking at Florida State. Look, they're going to put up 200-plus rushing yards. I'm going to say even probably 250. I think this is going to be an offense, that Gus wants it to be 70-30 run. I mean, this is going to be vintage Auburn. I think it's going to be heavy read option. I think we're going to see a little bit of, shotgun and pistol triple option. It's going to be heavy RPO. This is going to be fun. I think this is a really, really good fit. And Nate, you made some good points. Mike Norvell needed this hire.
Had to have it.
It had to have it. I'm excited to watch Florida State this year with this guy. I think they've got to continue to get better on the offensive line. I'm interested to see. I think, if memory serves correct, they got a couple of hits in the portal at wide receiver, but I'm excited to watch the Seminoles offense this year.
Yeah, you touched on Nick Marshall. Call me crazy. I think this could be a scenario where we see the next Deshaun Watson, the next Lamar Jackson in the ACC. I've seen this guy's tape. He has the ability.
Yeah.
He played at a lower level program in Boston College, and that's no disrespect to Boston College. But you give this guy a little bit more time to throw. You give this guy a little bit more angles to read within the pocket, and he can take off on you in a matter of seconds.
Absolutely.
And when he gets past that first line of defense, forget about it. He's gone.
Absolutely. And I was just want to look up. Nate, something that stood out to me last year is he played under Bill O'Brien last year. Now Bill O'Brien runs, very, very much a pro style offense. Not necessarily fit. And what did Thomas Castellanos do? 18 touchdowns to 5 picks. Now he was hurt some, but it seems like they were really, really key on developing him as a passer. But yet the year before at Boston College, he ran for 1,100 yards. So this guy is truly a dual threat quarterback.
He's lightning in a bottle,
Yes.
getting ready to bust out. Like he is this close to having a Heisman caliber season. All the eyes are on Cade Klubnik and what he can do in the ACC. Carson Beck goes down to Miami. Look out for this Castellanos guy.
I agree.
I'm being dead serious. Like, this guy has what it takes to have a Heisman caliber season. When you look around the nation, I think he can compete with the best.
And, jumping back to Gus at his Auburn days, of course, when, that Nick Marshall time, where they had him, I believe, I think I'm blanking on, who some of his running backs were, but, they were explosive. But, thinking about when they had Stidham, it was still an explosive offense, but it was totally different. And, you saw at times that was the 2017 season when Auburn, ended up making the SEC championship, of course, losing to UCF in the Peach Bowl. But, they leaned on Kerryon Johnson, just to run. Yeah. Stidham was not a runner. Well, now, like I said, we're getting back to that true Gus Malzahn where he has that truly explosive dual threat guy. It's going to be fun, man. I'm excited. And I think too, now that the RPO is, it's so dangerous, every offense, it doesn't matter what kind of base offense you run. Everyone has some kind of RPO element in their offense. And now Gus has seen all this. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
The whole state of Florida is going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Florida's making a jump with DJ Lagway. Miami gets Carson back. You expect them to be decent at the very least.
UCF's going to be so much fun with Scott Frost.
UCF with Scott Frost. And then you got this duo with Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell. Yeah. I mean, this could be a Netflix docuseries in the making.
Yeah.
Florida football, man. Yeah. Like, trademark it. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
College football is better when you think of some teams. When you think of Nebraska, when you think of Texas, when you think of Florida State, when you think of Miami, when you think about the deep, rich history of these programs, the hatred among some of these rivalries. I really hope Florida State bounces back this year. I think Gus Malzahn gives them the best chance.
I agree.
If you're a Florida State fan, big Florida State fan especially, let us know what you think of this hire. Is Gus Malzahn the right guy for your offense? And can Tommy, I'm going to call him Tommy, Tommy Football, trademark it, can Tommy Football get Florida State back into the playoff conversation? Be sure to like this video, subscribe down below, and turn on that bell notification so you can stay up to date when we post our latest video. We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle.